So hi everyone, I'm Wout. I'm the director of product at Patch My PC for a cloud product actually, and this is John.
I am John. I am a director also at Patch My PC, but I cover our reporting solutions.
So basically, I do work to fix stuff, and he just looks at some graphs all day. That's basically what we do. And what we do with Patch My PC is we automate your application installs and updates through Microsoft Intune. Why updating is important? 57% of data breaches that happen in the world somehow in the attack chain contain an vulnerability, even app of an unpatched app. So that's.
Just give it a
really?
sec.
Okay.
Just while I sort the audio out.
Can you guys hear me? Oh, all right.
It was nothing interesting or important.
All right. Better now? All right.
Hello, I'm John. This is Wout.
Let's carry on. So it's also important for ISO 27001. So if you want to be ISO certified, it's important that you have some process in place to patch your application. So updating stuff is really important. A ransomware attempt happens every 11 seconds. So every 11 seconds, someone is trying to ransomware someone else. And if they are successful, that will cost you on average 4.4 million US dollars. So it's not cheap if you get ransomware. So that's really what we try to help you with through Intune and Config Manager. So we're going to integrate with Microsoft Config Manager and with Microsoft Intune and keep your applications in your environment up to date. And it's really loud in here. So the main thing we try to do is we try to improve your security. Yeah? So obviously there's a lot of vulnerabilities in apps. So that's by patching those applications, we will make sure that we up your security, but not just that. If you do that manually today, that's going to probably cost you a lot of time, so we really save you a lot of time at the same time as well. And then who we are founded in 2011. We have 6,500 customers, somewhere along those lines. We've got 22 million endpoints. We got to update the slides. We've got 7 MVPs, and we are at 100-something plus people and growing. And we have 1,600 public applications, so all of those apps we will keep up to date for you. And then just some reference customers. There's a bunch of names here. Probably you've recognized a couple of names, so just to show that we do have quite a few references, quite a few companies that use us to keep their environment secure and up to date. And then why patching is important? Yeah, obviously in apps you're going to have vulnerabilities. Every app probably has some vulnerability somewhere. We just don't know about it yet. Those vulnerabilities are going to get exploited by hackers to drop ransomware or malware or whatever in your environment. And that can also lead to data breaches, so you're going to lose your data. And then we get to a very nice example here.
Thank you, Wout. So because I spend a lot of my time looking at how we report on these things and how we can better make our customers aware of the vulnerabilities that exist in their environment from a software updates perspective, I've got super interested in some of the reports that have come out around actual hacks that have happened in the real world. And fortunately, particularly in the US, the FBI do a really good job of reporting on these things when there is something of interest. So the Equifax hack is a particularly interesting one for us, because it is specifically related to a software update vulnerability. Essentially what happened here was that Equifax, who are a massive credit rating agency, hackers were able to exploit a vulnerability, which was CVE 2017-5638, which allowed remote code execution, which is quite common as far as CVEs are concerned, and which meant that hackers could then execute arbitrary code without any authentication. And the CVE that was published by Apache was rated a severity 10. It doesn't go up any higher than that, so 10's as bad as it gets by NIST when they issued that. After this hack had been completed and all the dust had settled, the FBI charged 4 Chinese military hackers with the theft of personal data of 147.9 million Americans, which included 11 million driver's licenses, as well as the details of 15.2 million of my citizens over in the UK. And so you might think that this is the sort of thing that only happens to companies that are of specific interest to state actors, but it's not the case. So at the same time as the FBI charged this team of Chinese military hackers with this particular breach, they also charged them with breaching the US Office of Personnel Management, Marriott Hotels, and a health insurance company named Anthem, who I'd never heard of, who had the details of 78.8 million US customers stolen as well. And so it isn't specifically about whether you might be of interest. It's more a question of whether you can be exploited. And so I thought it'd be interesting just to talk through a little bit about how they actually went about this. So basically what happens is the hackers write an exploit for the vulnerability. There's a good chance that they knew about it way before the CVE was actually issued, because it only took them a week from the CVE being published to an active exploit being implemented. So there's a good chance that actually they already knew about it. They wrote an exploit for this vulnerability, which they're then able to install. Using that vulnerability, they were able to install this web shell. And this is one of the things I found really fascinating about this. This is 4 lines of PHP, and that's all you need. If you can stage that on one of the Edge web servers, you can then use this to execute any remote command you like. And so one of the things I find really kind of terrifying about this is that it's really, really basic stuff. Once they had this, they were then able to use this web shell to upload additional tools that they created, which allowed them to do all sorts of completely bonkers stuff. They could successfully get a PKI in the Equifax environment to give them an SSL certificate. So they encrypted all of their exfiltration traffic with an internal certificate. So it was completely obfuscated and looked perfectly normal to Equifax. Not that their network scanning solution was working anyway. They actually had an expired certificate in that environment, which had run out 8 months ago. And so they were a little bit culpable there. Essentially what they then used this to do was they ran 90,000 SQL queries and exfiltrated all of these records. And aside from the reputational damage and the general impact to the customers, Anthem faced several class action lawsuits, and they settled those for $115 million. Equifax were fined in a variety of ways in the US to the tune of $575 million. They were individually sued by loads of customers and also had the largest class action lawsuit ever staged in the US against them as well. And then they were also fined £11 million by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. And so there's some serious challenges to just not patching the software that you have. And the thing that we're trying to do here at Patch My PC is to make this efficient and easy and something that you don't have to put too much effort into. The biggest challenge with this stuff being that you don't necessarily have time.
I'm off. Wait, hang on. There we go. Thank you, John. So yeah, indeed, the biggest challenge with keeping those apps up to date is time. If you look at what you need to do to check if an app is outdated or not, or what you have to do to install an app is you have to create a package for it. To make sure that it gets installed, you have to test that package in your environment to make sure that it works. Then you want to deploy it to a test group. Obviously, if you're doing something, you don't just want to roll that out full on in production. Then you got to validate that it actually works and everything, that it does what you want it to do, and then you can release it to your general population, so basically to all of your users. And then you got to check for updates, and if you find an update, that cycle basically starts all over again. So it's really a lot of work to maintain and to update all of those applications in your environment. It's going to take you on average between 3 to 5 hours per update. And if you then look at the number of apps that you have in your environment, then you're obviously going to have a pretty big challenge to keep all of those apps up to date. And so what we do actually in our environment is you're just going to install something, you're just going to register, and then what we're doing is we're checking the vendor website continuously. So we're scraping all of the vendor websites of all of the apps we have to see if there's updates available for those apps. If there are, we're going to package them, we're going to test them, we're going to make sure that they actually work in our test environment, and then we're going to deploy them down to your devices, to your environment, to make sure that they are updated in your environment. And now it's back to John to talk a bit about his donut charts and stuff.
Thank you. Hello again. So so I'm interested predominantly in reporting of this kind of thing. My team over in the UK create a tool called Advanced Insights. This sits on top of the Microsoft Configuration Manager stack today, and will shortly be a solution for Intune as well. And essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that, number one, we can demonstrate we're going to sell you this catalog, which is going to patch your applications. You're going to want to be able to prove to yourselves and also to any of your internal customers that you are actually achieving these things. And so we want to provide you with good visibility of your software update landscape. The Microsoft tools themselves don't generally do a very good job of this. And so we want to make sure that you have visibility of that, but also just provide better insight in general into the kinds of data that this tool is building for us. And then along with providing a better interface, which is more easy to consume and more accessible to a wider audience in your environment, we're also then going to build on that data set by integration with NIST, who we mentioned before, but also with the Microsoft Security Research Center and with some other security APIs to provide you with a security posture view based on your software update landscape. And so what we're trying to do with that is trying to make sure that you have a kind of accessible, intuitive interface which allows you to better respond to issues when you have them in the environment, and then also be able to provide you with an extended data set so that you have more capability of the kind of data that you already have. So any of you using Configuration Manager in your environment today, you have a large data set of inventory and compliance data, but it isn't particularly well surfaced. And so we're going to provide these kinds of views where basically it's a lot more kind of graphical, it's more intuitive, it's more accessible. So in this instance here, we're showing CVE details that's going to allow you to view this kind of information, where I can see specifically for each of the CVEs that are outstanding in the environment, what's the appropriate remediation action I could take, and then also, am I doing that right now? So I'm able to drill through and see the specifics for any individual machine and what its risk status looks like right now, along with a whole load of other information about whose it is and which apps it's got and what its monitor configuration is like and its disk health and it's all the rest of it. So all sorts of data there, and then also provide you with some capabilities where we're going to show trend data so that we can basically see what your progress is towards becoming secure. So if you want to be able to demonstrate to your customers, to your managers, and all those kinds of things, where you are making progress with new applications, new updates being released into either the Microsoft catalog from WSUS and Microsoft Update, or from our catalog, which we're going to build and push into your environment as well, discussed, then this is a tool that we can use to actually demonstrate progress towards those goals. Yes, you again.
So if you want to try this out, you can just start a trial, request a trial. You can book a setup call, so we can do the setup for you if you want. I'll walk you through in a second through the setup of our cloud solution in a minute. And that's it. Then you can be up to date and enjoy all of that extra time and all of that for less than the price of a cup of coffee. Coffee is free here, but I mean, imagine that you have to pay for it. And so we up to between $2 and $5 per device per year, right? So it's really pretty cheap. And now let's dive into the demo. And John, you're gonna help me out with.
So we'll want to just clone it now, won't we? So let's just do that.
Oh. You know, you don't have to do that beforehand with PowerPoint, right? What? PowerPoint does that automatically.
Yeah. Well,
All right. All right. Cool. So this is our cloud solution. So this will actually integrate with your Intune tenant, with your Microsoft 365 subscription, and I'm gonna click through it very quickly to show you how easy it is. And then John will hopefully have some time to show some of the donuts. So I'm going to sign in here with one of my demo accounts. So this is just my Microsoft 365 global admin that I'm using, but whatever, it can also be a user. And then I'm going to register on our portal over my 4G tethering phone. So you're going to have to be a bit patient with me because I'm on 4G. And then it should load the sign-in page and register us. The cool thing. So you can select where you want to store your data. So everything that you upload and everything that we do, we can either do from US or Europe. So whatever you want, you can, or whatever region you want, you can select in here. I'll select Belgium, and I'm on a strange keyboard at the moment. And then we're good to go. We automatically fill your name because we got that obviously from your Entra ID, Azure AD user, and you're good to register. Then on the basic page. We have an on-premise solution as well today, which is called Publisher. You can connect that, but what we're going to do here is we're going to connect our Intune tenant, which is currently in public preview, by the way, so it's not in production yet. And then again, we need to give Patch My PC the app registration permissions to do things in your tenant, so we're going to sign in again. And then there's a bunch of permissions here. I'm not going to go over them. We don't have the time. But basically, we try to do as little permissions as possible. Most of them are just read permissions so that we can show data in the platform for you. Everything else, there's 2 write permissions that obviously we need to do stuff. I'm going to use a license here because I've already used this demo account before. And that's it. We're on the portal where we got, like I said, 1,600 something apps. And I'm going to go, John's going to hate me for this. I'm going to do 7-zip. I'm going to deploy 7-zip into my tenant just to show that there is nothing up my sleeves. This is my Intune tenant, so it's totally empty, no apps here. And I'm going to deploy that app into my Intune tenant. The first thing I can do is select the architecture, the install context, and the installer type. I want an MSI actually. And we're just going to deploy that 7-zip into my environment. Then there's customizations we can do, right? So if you want to do your own thing before the install or after the install, you can define that here. Imagine that I want to do let's do a format C. I like doing a format C on all of my devices. Oh, there we go. It's loading. Usually, if you've got a proper internet connection, this works okay. Yeah, it's pretty bad. All right. I'm going to cancel out of this. But whatever you can PowerShell, and it's not just PowerShell, it's also VBS that we actually support. So there's a bunch of formats that we actually support. Whatever you can script, you can fill out here, and we'll deploy that script into your install commands, basically, before or either after the install of that app. You can also see which commands we're going to use, which parameters we're going to use to actually install that application in your environment, and you can also add commands to that stuff, just so that you can add and customize and install yourself. And then there's assignments. We basically support what Intune supports. There's one new thing here, update only. How that works is we're going to check on your device if there's already a previous version of that app installed. And only if there's a previous version of that app installed, we're going to update it. If we can't find that app on your device, we're just going to skip the update. We're going to report back as not applicable. So we're not just always deploying that app to your device as required, but we're basically doing that conditionally. So only if there's a previous version, we're going to deploy it. I'll do available now, and I'm right-clicking on this thing. I'll do available. I'll do all devices, obviously. Imagine I did format C. That would be pretty bad. And I'll select the update-only app for all devices as well. I'll create those assignments. And here you've got some configuration. Then we give you a nice overview of all of the settings that you've just configured, and then you can deploy it. So basically, you're set up in a matter of, I did it slowly now, but you can, if it's not the first time, you can set this up in basically 2 minutes and keep all of the applications in your environment up to date. This is currently deploying to your environment. I'm going to start hitting refresh here. And you should see, there we go. This is the first 7-zip we're already seeing. It's providing the content at the moment. So as you can see, this is just going to take us a few minutes. And that's it. From then on, your 7-zip in your environment is forever patched. Unless, obviously, you want to disable those patches in your environment. You can actually turn it off if you want to. That's not on production yet. But soon there will be a pause button where you can disable updates. But obviously, you want to keep everything up to date all the time. You can also invite other admins, by the way. Hopefully, you're not the only admin in your environment, so you can invite additional people here to manage all of that for you in your environment as well. And I'm going to check again in Intune. So it's not ready yet, but we should see both of them here now. There we go. And our update app is going to be ready. So we've got our update for 7-zip in our environment. So just to show you how really easy and really, really, really fast this is. So this is my very short demo. You want to do yours,
Yeah,
John?
sure. We'll have a quick look at this.
It's going to be interesting on this one, on this 4G.
Yeah, we'll see. So We should say as well that we have all of this tech running at our booth, which is the other side of the hall, directly opposite where we are now, against the other, opposite the far wall there. So if you've got any questions about this that we don't get through today, because I guess we're probably not going to be able to do questions, but then just come and see us afterwards, obviously. But also we're going to be at the booth, and you can actually play around with all of this yourself interactively at the booth.
There's one more thing about the QR code. So we're giving away a PlayStation. We're doing that at 11, I want to say. Yeah, at 11. So scan that QR code, fill out your stuff, and then we're giving it away at the booth between theater 7 and 5, I want to say, somewhere around. Yeah. So scan that, and then you can win a PlayStation.
Okay. Yeah, so moving on from the stuff that Watt was just showing around actually deploying new updates and new applications into your environment, I just wanted to take the opportunity just to quickly show you a few little things in here. So this is Advanced Insights. Today, this is for Microsoft Configuration Manager only. We're building a version of this which is for Intune right now, but at the moment this is just for Config Manager. But our ambition is that we will have parity with the functionality in here with our Intune customers as well. And there's three kind of key things that I want to show here. The first thing is that all of the data used to paint this page, this is the home dashboard for it, all the data used to paint this you already have if you have Configuration Manager. Everything is already there. It's just not presented very well. And so you can use this to kind of to visualize that data and give you better access into it. Everywhere you see a chart, you're always able to click on the individual components of that chart to see the details that have built those segments. Oh dear. And so, oh, there we go. And the whole thing is like quite richly interactive. So I've got visibility here of whether the devices are online or not. I can see who the users of them are and those kinds of things. These are always filterable and searchable and exportable and all that kind of stuff. And then so we're going to do a better job of presenting the data, and then we're also going to extend that data out to include additional properties. So, for example, one of the things that Configuration Manager knows nothing about is monitors that you might have in the environment. So if I have a look here at this particular machine, what I can see is detail about the... Oh, wow, look at that. Detail... Yeah, I've never seen do that before. So this is details about the configuration of the monitors on this user's desktop. So from a support perspective, user rings up the help desk. They say that their cat has chewed through their monitor cable. Is it their primary monitor, which is the one on the left-hand side of their desk, or their main monitor, which is on the right-hand side of their desk? I can see how they're connected, so I'm going to send a HDMI cable to replace this. But also maybe I'll replace monitors that were made before 2021, and so I'll just send them a new one instead. And we're going to show you loads of other details here about the battery health of this machine. We'll show you details about its storage health and its disk usage and wear and all those kinds of things. We've got loads of data in here just to kind of cover off the entire kind of new properties from the environment that might be useful to you that you haven't previously had access to. So we're going to extend all of this out ourselves. And then where we're interested in actually doing some work with this, so for example, if I look at this machine and see its software update compliance, and I might see that this machine requires some software updates installing, what we're going to be able to do as well is extend this interface out so that I can actually do things with this data. So if this machine needed updates right now, I could push those updates to install to it. If the machine was pending a restart, I could push a reboot to it. I can send a little message to the machine. I can initiate remote control via Config Manager. All of these kinds of functionality presented right here in front of you. So this isn't just a pretty face, a nice interface for the existing data set. We're building additional data in here and then also extending the functionality out so that we can actually use this to do things. And then the final thing that we're going to do, as I showed a screenshot of before, is we're going to reach into some external data sources which are useful built on top of the Configuration Manager data to show you information about, in this instance, this is vulnerability management. So here we're looking at where there might be critical CVEs affecting our environments and what we should do about those. So here we've got, I can see there's 2,000 devices that are affected by any kind of CVE, but only 114 of them actually have a critical one, which is this .NET Framework vulnerability here. And then if I wanted to see specifically what do I need to do in order to address this vulnerability, we're going to show you which software updates you need to deploy in order to bring these machines back into compliance. And then I can also drill further always for additional data in this interface to show myself specifically which machines are affected. Am I actually doing anything to address this vulnerability? So am I already deploying this and I just have to wait for the machines to come into compliance? So you can see here the details of all of the machines in the environment, which machines actually need it. I can see details about, am I deploying this now? I'm not, and so it's actually something that I should probably do some work about. And then when I have done that work to actually deploy that software update, one of the things that I'm going to be able to do then is show what my adoption rate looks like for that particular update, so I can track in real time how my progress towards achieving compliance for that individual update is going in my environment. So I can see here, for example, for this particular update, which is from the Patch My PC catalog, it took me 69 days to actually do anything with it. So I didn't notice that I should be deploying this for 2 months. But then once I'd done that, it only took me another 30 days to actually 40 days to get to 50% compliance. And then you can see that gradually my compliance has been improving through time. And so eventually I will get, trying to get myself to 100% compliance to make sure that that I'm actually addressing these vulnerabilities that I have in the environment. So we've got this running on our stand as well, so you can come and have a come and have a little play around with this and prod and poke it on our touchscreens. But I think we've got 5 minutes for questions because I've done the thing I wanted to do. So if anyone's got any specific questions, then we might have to go around with a microphone, but we can probably do that.
I'll do the thing with the thing and the QR code thing.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, put that up. Yeah. Anyone got anything? If not, then I'm very grateful for you all coming. This is the QR code, which I guess is the same one as that, hopefully. So this is the raffle that we'll be holding at our stand in, is it in 15 minutes?
Well,
yeah,
19, 18.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. So on top of the hour. So by all means, scan this, register your details, and then join us over at our booth, where will we have waffles by then?
I don't know, we'll have waffles.
Well, we'll have waffles at 12 o'clock. So anyone
3.
who fancies...
Oh, 12 or 3? 12, okay.
Oh. Yeah, 3 for, yeah, 12, yeah, not 3. Yeah.
Any questions, guys? Everyone's okay, that's fine.
Must have been good, eh?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, we'll leave you to the rest of your day. But thank you very much indeed for coming. We really do appreciate you taking the time. See you over at the booth in 15 minutes.